This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the official Extreme Rules review show. I've got somebody that is a patron of the show and also attended live in Philadelphia to see it all happen, including the massive Bray Wyatt return. We'll definitely be talking about that. And this is Bill Evans. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, Matt.
Hey.
How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you were able to come on, and I know that Extreme Rules for you just wrapped up. You got into the hotel room from what we talked about just before the record button hit, that you got in at 1 a.m. So it was quite a late night for you, was it not?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you're familiar with where the Wells Fargo Center is at all, but there's a little nightlife outside. So, after we left the show, we went and hung out for a little while and then walked back to the hotel. I've been there once or twice in Philadelphia. I don't know if I've been to the Wells Fargo Center. It was many years ago, so I could imagine that the nightlife was pretty wild if you wanted to go and celebrate, particularly at the end of the show that saw Bray Wyatt return. And, I don't know how I don't start the show without talking about Bray Wyatt and his massive return. It seemed as if the crowd was just completely, at times, just drawn into the return that hadn't even happened yet, where there were chants for Wyatt throughout the fight pit match with Riddle and Rollins. There were Wyatt chants kind of randomly throughout the show. Yep. Did it feel like, even though there were some really good matches on the show, that people were just kind of waiting for the Wyatt return? It kind of overshadowed some things. Yeah, I felt the same way. We saw a lot of White Rabbit merchandise around before the show too, like hanging out outside the arena. And that was really the vibe. Everybody was kind of there waiting for whatever was going to happen.
And when it actually did happen at the very end of the show, and I remember, or I don't remember, it was just a few hours ago, I watched the end of the match. I watched the Riddle and Rollins fight pit match, which I actually was disappointed in a lot, and I'll talk about that later. But I would say that, when the show ended, they put the credits, that little logo at the bottom of the screen, and I'm like, seriously? They're not going to debut Wyatt? It looked like at the very end, I'm like, there's nothing that's going to happen. People are going to lose their minds. And it did happen at the very end. The announcers at the end even said, like, are we still on? And they didn't say anything other than that. There was no commentary to what was going on. But they did a nice job of making you feel like, oh my God, okay, they're really not going to do it here. They're waiting until the logo pops on the screen, and then they go off the air. Now, the people seem to be 1,000% behind the Bray Wyatt return. Was it as loud of a pop that you've ever heard? Like, what would you compare the pop that you heard to anything else that you've experienced?
It was definitely the biggest pop I've ever heard in person. Once nobody was really sure, like the lights went out. Matt Riddle was still on the stage, like at the entrance, heading back towards the locker room, when all the lights went out and the place went out, and when everybody got their phones out, because you could just tell it wasn't like the lights. At the end of the show, like come up. So when everything went out, everybody knew something was happening. And I don't know what you could hear on the broadcast. In the house, you could hear that music start playing. He's got the whole world in his hands. And it was electric. It started because everybody knew, all right, it's happening now. Mm-hmm. And it was really creepy with all the characters standing in the entryways.
Oh yeah, all the what was it?
Yeah,
Rambling
the place
Rabbit
went
and
nuts.
yeah. That
Huskus, I think, was the
Huskus.
first one that we
Yep.
saw.
It was very well done, and then they showed the playground that he had, whatever he called it, I can't remember now. He had
The funhouse?
The funhouse rather, and he had that covered in cobwebs as if it was just kind of it's not going to continue. It was telling you that this is going to be something different, a little bit of an evolution of Bray Wyatt. And on the screen of the TV in that funhouse, you saw this kind of new character scrambled within the TV, and you couldn't really make out what he was saying, but something along the lines of "Who killed the world? I did, or we did, or something." And then the new mask that he debuted. I thought it was very well done. The door with the light was a very awesome touch. Did you when you saw that door of light, did it look like it was kind of hokey? Did it look awesome? How did that door that had the light permeating through come across in person?
Well, so when the lights went out and they were playing the music and doing all the little zoom ins to the different characters, we could actually see them coming out, setting that door up on the stage. So we knew something, everybody assumed that's where he's coming from. So from like the seats that we had, we could kind of see from above it. So you could see the movement of someone in behind that door, and the little like tunnel that they had leading back, I guess, to the gorilla position. But no, it looked, it looked good in house too. It didn't look hokey or anything like that.
Well, that's good. It seemed like it was a nice touch, and then the light goes out, and the door opens, and you see the lantern come out, and that's when people really exploded. And then he comes out with his new mask, standing there, and the holy blank chants happen. I mean, it seems as if Philly always finds a way to make that chant happen. Oh, yeah. It's just I think it's back to its ECW roots. Just the holy. It's just people can't help themselves. It's a reflex. They'll find a way to make that chant. Yeah.
That chant happened. Yeah, that chant happened several times throughout the night.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like that chant. It's not as overused as "This is awesome" or all that kind of stuff. I like it because more often than not, Philly does do it in a spot that's warranted for that chant, and the Bray Wyatt is certainly warranted given he was fired from WWE on July 31st of 21. That's 19 months ago, which is just crazy. Almost 2 years ago that he was.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable that it's been that long, and so that chant's warranted. And when he popped off his mask and stood there, that's when people really exploded. Like that was the peak when he took the mask off, and it was like revealed 1,000,000% to be him. That it sounded like the Philly crowd really exploded. And then I gotta ask, because after he took off the mask and he blew the lantern out and he said, "I'm here" or something. That's when, for us, it went blank. It went dark, and the pay-per-view ended. What happened after the light? After he blew out the lantern, what happened?
So that's really about it. So they were showing what I assume is what you're seeing on the broadcast. They're showing on the big screens in the arena. Yeah, the mask came off. He blew out the light. The place went nuts, and then the screen went black inside, and the lights came up. Within probably a minute later, the lights in the arena came up, and that was it. There was nothing else.
So after that, the lights, if they came, or did they come back on, and the door was gone, and he was gone, and everything was just like, that's it. There was nothing after that.
Nope, yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing after that. Like I said, he blew the lantern out. It was black for a minute. Everybody was going crazy, and then the lights came up. He was gone. He never came out the door or anything like that.
Okay, so I don't feel like, as viewers at home, we didn't miss anything. Yeah.
No, no secrets.
Okay, cool. So that to me was, I mean, that's the number one story. It's trending all over the place. The Bray Wyatt return really just overshadowed almost anything that happened on the event itself. And, I have to ask though, one thing. I know that you had gotten in touch with me about when you got to the event that somebody screwed up, and you said that they got, or you got to your seats before you were supposed to, and you saw the wrestlers in the ring planning out spots, and you asked if I wanted a spoiler, and I didn't. But what did you see that at the time would have been a spoiler?
Well, so we when I ordered tickets, I think I was telling you earlier, I got tickets for me and my buddy to come down for his birthday. So, ordered these like priority passes of these different levels. So I got the bronze level. I had no idea what sort of access it gave us or anything like that. But we were able to get into the arena a half an hour before the doors open, and we just started walking around. It was like nobody knew who was supposed to be where, but they let us in. So we're walking around and we say, let's go see where our seats are. And of course, they have like black curtains hanging over the entrances to every section. So we just, one was in the ring. I mean, it was Bianca and Bayley were in the ring. We saw Liv. The spoiler I was going to give you that I messaged you was we saw Edge showing Rhea how to give the concerto to Beth. Like Beth was laying in the middle of the ring with her head on a chair, and Edge was like demonstrating the concerto. Rhea knew that Beth was going to be back, and we sat in there. I took a couple of pictures. I keep that top secret. I didn't show them anywhere. We didn't know we weren't supposed to be in there. We sat there for probably 5 or 6 minutes. Triple H was down by the ring. Michael P.S. Hayes, like everybody was out there. And then we saw some guys on the floor started shining flashlights up like on the other side and yelling at somebody like, you have to leave the arena now. And they were yelling. So we were looking at each other, me and my buddy Jason. We're like, I don't know if we're supposed to be here or not. So we decided to scoot out before they started yelling at us. And then we actually did ran into some workers in the hall, and they were like, the show doesn't want anybody on the concourse. You need to get back. We're like, oh, they let us in?
Yeah.
I mean, there was nobody keeping us out of anywhere. I mean, we're just walking around. But it was funny because they were all in the ring before this show. Like, Liv, there was a table set up in one corner of the ring where Liv was talking to somebody. It wasn't Ronda. Ronda wasn't out there. But, like, Bayley and Bianca were in the other corner with a ladder leaned up, like, demonstrating things. Drew and Karrion Kross were in another corner. They had the strap. They were just, like, talking and kind of slowly acting out different maneuvers. It was pretty cool to see.
That is awesome. I've never had that experience, nor have I spoken with anybody that's been able to see something like that. Now, we obviously know things like that happen. It's just something that you see and only hear about. And that the people that were at that door that let you in clearly screwed up. There's no way they would have let fans in during that time that would have given away any spoilers at all, because someone with a smartphone,
they let us in, and there was this like pre-show hospitality room. So we followed the signs to that. So when we got there, they told us that we bought didn't include have one of the higher. So we're like, oh, okay. So we just started walking around and walked right in. And obviously there must have been a couple other people, because they didn't see us, but they started yelling at somebody. And, me and my friend were like, that sounds pretty serious. Let's get out of here before they kick us out.
Oh my God, that is that's a hell of a thing to see. And the concerto spot, to me, I'm glad I didn't ask what that spoiler was, because that to me was one of the most, if not the most impactful spot of the entire night, was that concerto in so many ways. And yes, the Bray Wyatt return was awesome. We knew it was coming, but that concerto spot on Beth, I mean, it was, to me. Okay, let me just jump into this matchup here with Edge and Finn, which, by the way, I thought was really good. I thought they did an awesome job. It was multi-layered. You thought it was the finish. There was 3 spears on Finn. You thought that was it. Beth Phoenix comes out, defends Edge, gets the handcuff off of him, knocks down Rhea, and then that's when the wheels fall off. After Dominic got kicked in the nuts by Edge, which the fans loved, and boy, Dominic's doing, I think, a great job. He's fit so well into this group. Rey Mysterio getting beat up by beat up by Dominic, all this stuff. But to me, the most impactful part of this, which I had actually said is the only way Edge is going to say I quit, is if a family member is in peril, and that's exactly what happened, where he's forced to say I quit. And then Rhea hits Beth anyway. I mean, like, to me, the crowd acted is exactly as you should. You guys were just booing the hell out of this, and as it should be. What was the feeling in the crowd throughout this match, because there were so many ups and downs and great spots and just emotional moments, but seeing Edge having to sit there watching his wife get concertoed, even after he had already quit and done what Rhea had demanded, she does it anyway. Like, it was an awesome spot. How did the crowd react? How did you react during all of this?
Yeah, and I agree. I thought that match was really well done. Probably one of the best ones of the night. As far as that spot goes, like I said, we knew it was coming, so we kind of were talking about that before the match started. That we knew that was probably going to be the finish. That was how they would get Edge to finally say I quit. But yeah, the reaction from the crowd was mad. The crowd was really mad because they were hyped. When you could see Beth running, sort of, she came like from out of the crowd through the timekeepers area, and people were really, really popped for that. And so when Rhea hit her after Edge said I quit, the crowd really, the heat on the Judgment Day right now is nuclear. Like that, you could really feel the heat from the crowd in the arena when that happened. And I gotta say, like you were talking about Dominic, I agree with you. All the criticisms that you've had of Dominic, for the last several months, I've always agreed with, but I think he's been fantastic since joining the Judgment Day. They've done perfect work with Dom in the Judgment Day.
Dom, yeah, oh no, definitely, and I don't take back any of the criticisms I had about Dom, because he was as boring could be from a personality standpoint, and now he is one of the biggest heat drawing figures of the group. I mean, I would argue that Rhea Ripley's probably number one now. She is public enemy number one, given what she did. And Beth Phoenix and her are clearly going to have a match. Maybe it's in Saudi Arabia. Maybe it's Survivor Series. Who knows? Whenever Beth, quote unquote, recovers from the injury. Rhea Ripley is that straw that stirs the drink. She has put herself in a position to really be the largest heat getter of the group. And I think that now, like you said, with Dominic there, he was positioned nicely by the announcers. They called him like a brat, and that's exactly what he is. He's like just this entitled kind of just spoiled brat of a kid that needs to get his ass kicked. And that's exactly what he is. I feel more for Dominic in like one night than I have his entire run when he was with Ray, just playing like the little kid. So I'm all for this group. This group has come from basically being on life support after Edge was ousted and no one was really into it. Everyone's like, this is stupid. Why did Edge get kicked out? And I still have my issues with that, but going from that all the way to getting the biggest negative reaction of the night is a hell of a tribute to all of the talent in the group and Triple H himself, of being able to take this group from basically dead to resurrecting it to the biggest, I would argue, more of a heel group than the Bloodline.
I would agree with that. I mean, from what I see, the Bloodline gets a lot of cheers everywhere they go, and there was nobody in the house last night cheering Judgment Day. I mean, they're really, you could feel the heat on them at the end of that match. It was palpable in the arena. People were angry, and I'm excited to see where they go with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me want to see Monday Night Raw really badly. Because I'm used to pay-per-views being on a Sunday, and now they're that Saturday, so you got to wait 2 nights. But it's certainly, yeah, I think that this is a group that is number one in terms of heel heat anywhere, including any singles individual, any group. They may not be the most star-studded like the bloodline, but they have the most heat behind them, and it makes you want to see somebody somewhere step up. I thought AJ Styles would get himself involved here. He didn't. I know that Ray was going to come out and even the odds. He did, but I was waiting for AJ Styles to also come out, and he didn't. Which, I mean, I'm okay with, because the spot was about getting more heat on Rhea and bringing Beth Phoenix into things. But were people waiting for AJ Styles also to come out?
I was just going to say, you're not alone there, because I don't know if they came through on the broadcast, but you definitely heard some AJ Styles chants during that match. You know, the AJ Styles, people were waiting, I think, anticipating him to come out and help Edge, but yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah. But to me, it wasn't a big deal because of the fact that they did such a great job with that spot and Rhea playing her role just to a T. This group has been nothing but positive for every member of that faction, and I'm really I'm still angry about that spot. Like, I know that it's pro wrestling. I know that Beth isn't actually hurt. Like, all of that is irrelevant because I feel like I'm still angry at that group. I still want somebody to just destroy Rhea Ripley. I want to see somebody like bloody that whole group. It's just. That's how you know they've got you. Like, I know I'm 37 years old. I know it's pro wrestling. I know it's not and anybody's really injured. But that's how I know they've got me, and that's an awesome feeling. Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. It's the longer you've been watching wrestling, I think the harder it is to get that feeling. So when they're able to get you to that place, then they're doing a really great job. And I'm in the same place with it. I want to see somebody destroy the Judgment Day. And especially in Philly. I mean, Philly's a tough crowd. Any of those large markets are really tough in terms of getting the reaction you want, and they succeeded. I mean, they hit a not just a home run, they hit a grand slam, I think, with that whole segment, what they needed to achieve. So, all right, well, let's move on. The show opened with the Brawling Brutes and Imperium in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. This, to me, over-delivered on so many levels. It set the tone that I didn't think that they were going to set at that high of a level. I was very impressed. I was involved in everything that was going on here. There were some awesome spots. There were some spots where you thought, oh, this has got to be it, and it's not. Gunther and Sheamus everybody could watch them fight forever. They're just perfectly matched for one another. But the other guys also had time to shine as well. I mean, so it was, to me, a very good, hard-hitting matchup. Kind of just almost like they were really hitting each other. It didn't look like it was a pro wrestling match. It looked straight up just like a fight. And I think the crowd, you guys seem to be super into it. To me, it was an awesome, over-delivered match. What did you think about this with Imperium versus the Brutes?
Yeah, the crowd was really into it, and it's funny that you say that it looked like, because in the arena it looked like they were really hitting each other. I mean, you could hear those, and we weren't like, our seats were decent. We were in like the front row of the second level, kind of opposite the hard camera. So we had a good view down the top of the ring, and they did not look to be pulling punches very much. I mean, there's a few moves that you can see. How they pull them off and make them look good. But, man, you could hear, especially Gunther and Sheamus, anytime they touch each other, you could hear every shot lay in. I think the crowd in the house was really behind Butch. There was a lot of people there that were really hot for Butch. And, like the spot where he dove off the top of the barrels. That was the one thing when we saw the setup for that match. I thought there was going to be a lot more use of, I mean, I know they used like the shillelaghs and a couple of other things. I thought there was going to be a lot more use of foreign objects during that match with all the barrels and stools and things they had set up there. So that part of it was a little disappointing. They didn't get more into that. But I mean, all six of those guys I think are great in ring and put on a great match, and it definitely felt like a lot more of a real fight than most pro wrestling matches do.
Yeah, it had a very old school feel to it, a very just not of today's style. I felt like I was watching something that was from 30 years ago, that's or 40 years ago, and that was more of the style when people lay their stuff in. It's not so rehearsed or gymnastics type of style that is more of today's today's quality or today's strategy of matches. But to me, this was a fantastic opening match. The Brutes do defeat Imperium, but that's okay because Gunther didn't take the fall. He got the Celtic Cross through the announce table, which I don't know the last time the announce table, by the way, was destroyed in the very first match of the night, but it was a very, very intense start to finish, pillar to post, awesome old school matchup that I'm sure all 6 guys are waking up today groaning, going, oh, like they are feeling it rolling out of bed today. There's just no other way about it. And so there wasn't a ton of plot development in this, but it's okay because this is a program that likely will continue maybe one more time in Saudi Arabia, and then that'll be it. Or maybe this could have been the conclusion. But I want to also ask you about the kind of weird comedic storyline between Dexter Lumis and The Miz that happened throughout the show, and with the mascot that was, I guess, annoying The Miz. Eventually, Miz beats up the mascot, and then Dexter Lumis ends up, as he always does, choking out The Miz. And then the mascot got a couple shots in on The Miz, and then Dexter Lumis helps the mascot up, and they walk off together. Did the crowd really care about this? I mean, they really care about the mascot. They were really into Gritty. But what was the feeling? Kind of just a comedic woven throughout the show type of segment?
Yeah, no, it's funny. The crowd did, Philly is famous for the intensity of their sports fans. So they love, even before the show, before the show was on air, there was a thing where Jerry Lawler came out and they were unveiling the WrestleMania 40 logo, because WrestleMania 40 is going to be in Philly. Mm-hmm. And they put the 76ers mascot out and a few Eagles cheerleaders with Jerry Lawler, and the place was going nuts for them. So when they did those spots with Gritty and The Miz, there was an audible boos in the arena when Miz was trashing on Gritty, and then when Gritty got some kicks in on him, the place really loved it because they love their sports, they love their mascots in Philly. So that was over with the crowd with Miz getting his butt kicked.
It was. I've never heard such a reaction for a mascot in the show. I know they represent the local sports teams, but still, like it's usually just kind of a lukewarm reaction, like kind of a hee hee ha ha. But like it seemed like the fans took this more serious than I thought, which was cool. And just it showed the passion, the intensity that the Philadelphia fans have for their sports teams.
You don't mess with Gritty.
Yeah, I guess not. I've never seen Gritty in my life. I don't follow Philadelphia sports as closely, obviously, but the crowd popped in a big way when Gritty got a couple of shots in. I actually thought Dexter Lumis was inside of that, inside of the Gritty costume, but he ended up being not. And so anyway, all right, let's go on to another match here. I want to talk. Let's see what's up next. The Women's SmackDown Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship, or as Ronda would like to say, just the SmackDown Championship. It's Ronda Rousey, Liv Morgan for an Extreme Rules match. This one, it was weird to me, and I tweeted this out. I said, I don't know what to feel about this. It was kind of, I don't know if I liked it or not, and I still don't. There were some botched spots in this. The chair that fell out of the ring in the corner of the ring when she tried to put it between the ropes, that spot was totally screwed up because the chair was supposed to be there when Ronda was pushed into the corner. It wasn't. She does there was some backbreaker or code breaker she does that she does not execute well. She tried twice and it didn't work. It was a little sloppy at times, but Liv showed toughness, so there's that. And Ronda Rousey ends up beating Liv Morgan after she smiled with what was it? Some kind of I forget what choke they called it. Some kind of submission that choked out Liv. Liz ends up smiling, and also, I don't know. It was weird. This match was weird. It was not a great match, but Rousey is your new champion. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree with you. It was definitely weird. I don't know what the finish was. We just heard him ring the bell, and I get later, I realized that it was just that she had choked her out. It was definitely a weird match. It was definitely botchy, and I felt like nobody was really into it, and I didn't feel a lot of for either one of them. Ronda got booed. She came out. The pop for Liv at the beginning when she came out was not what I thought it would be. I've been to a couple of like house shows in the last year or so where the crowd really was behind Liv. Like nobody was really into this match. The ending was weird. Ronda got some boos and stuff on the way out. Felt like overall you're right. It was a weird match. Yeah, the botch with Code Breaker. So then I don't know if they were supposed to do it twice, but it's like they botched it the first time, so she did it again to try to do it, but the chair wasn't there in the corner. The whole thing felt weird. The ending was very anticlimactic, and it felt like the feeling in the arena was that nobody really cared about either one of them.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I felt. I will say that I was surprised that people were cheering for Liv more than at the beginning they were cheering for Ronda. I figured for sure that people had kind of soured on Liv Morgan and that they were going to boo or rather cheer Ronda Rousey, and it actually seemed like the opposite. But by the match at the time it concluded, I would say that you're right. It came across on TV like the crowd was just kind of like, what just happened? Okay, Ronda won. I don't really know how she won. I guess she choked her out, and was there a tap out? Did she just pass out? I don't know, but Liv is smiling. Like, what is this? There's also wacky spots that were botched. Like, it was just kind of a sloppy match, but I'm not gonna crap on the whole thing. Like, it wasn't bad from start to finish. It just, the conclusion made no sense. And also a character perspective, I don't think people really know who to cheer for right now or boo. It's a little weird. But now Ronda Rousey has the championship, and we'll have to see where it goes. With Charlotte's impending return, we all saw the video package. It didn't say when she's returning. It just reminded us about Charlotte Flair, which I liked. I don't know if they're going to go back into that again. Maybe. I mean, that's how Charlotte left, was the I Quit match with Ronda a number of months ago. But I don't know. And do you have any other final thoughts on this match? It was just kind of like, okay, Ronda's champion now. Like, let's move on. I don't know.
Yeah, that was really kind of my final thought too. It's like, and I think I knew coming in that they were probably going to put the belt back on Ronda, which didn't excite me really at all. I wasn't excited about this match to begin with, and at the end it was kind of like, okay, Ronda's champion, move on. What's next? Mm-hmm. I don't know where I'm at on Ronda Rousey. I was excited, when it felt like they were going to go with the heel turn, but I feel like they haven't committed to it. She's just not quite heel enough. Because I agree with you, I think she could be a really good heel, but they need to commit to it and make her just really anger people. But yeah, I didn't care too much about this. I guess we'll see what happens. Like you said, it'll probably end up with Charlotte and Ronda when Charlotte comes back, and we'll have to see that again.
Man, I hope not. I'm over Charlotte and Ronda. I saw that, I think many fans are too, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens here. Maybe Charlotte goes to Raw because there seems to be no brand split really. Maybe Charlotte ends up on Raw. I mean, who knows? Maybe they have a massive swap when Becky comes back. She's on SmackDown and Charlotte goes to Raw. And that's how you get Becky and Ronda finally one-on-one at WrestleMania, which I still believe they're going to go to. I still believe they're going to go Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood. They have to get that match in. The fact that it's been 4 years since Ronda Rousey's been in WWE, and yes, she's taken her leave of absences and things, but the fact that that match hasn't happened in 4 years one-on-one is absolutely insane. Like, Ronda's had one-on-ones with nearly everyone else. Yet Becky Lynch is still out there with no one-on-one. So I think they're going to find a way to get those two on the same show before WrestleMania season starts. So, all right. Well, let's get to the next matchup here. I know we're running up against time here, but Drew and Karrion Kross.
I hope they do.
Yeah, no, they have to. They have that match. It's a money match. It's a WrestleMania match. To me, it's now, early, heading towards mid-October. They have to start thinking about WrestleMania. Once really Survivor Series hits, to me, is when you really, really need to start digging into, like, okay, where do we want to go? They have to get to that match. It's been 4 years and that hasn't happened. It's really just almost impossible to believe. But, all right, Drew and Karrion strap match. I feel like this match was okay. I didn't think it was awesome. I think the strap was actually overused. where I don't need to see anyone hit anyone again with a leather strap for the rest of my life. Like, I feel like they have fulfilled me for the rest of my days until I die at like 85 or 90 years old. I never need to see it. I mean, I get it. It's a strap match. I understand that's what you're supposed to do, but I felt like they almost overused the strap in that sense. And it makes a nice sound. I understand. But I don't know. Cross defeating McIntyre, I think, was the right decision because McIntyre is already a made man. He doesn't need to win. And we had what's her name, Scarlett, as the deciding factor in this match, and it was kind of a straightforward heel victory. Scarlett. So what did the crowd think, and what did you think about Cross taking out McIntyre?
Specifically, but and I didn't listen to the prediction show, so I don't know what you predicted, but I assumed it was going to be interference from Scarlett. I thought the match was a little, whatever the last couple of times on SmackDown, they're on, when they've already kind of been at each other with the strap. One thing that I thought was weird, and I don't know if they probably addressed it during the broadcast, is we weren't sure for a while whether the match had started when Karrion wouldn't put the strap on at the beginning, and we couldn't figure out, did the bell ring? Is the match actually started? Is the match over? Is it not going to happen? So it wasn't until I thought it was a good match. There was nothing wrong with it. But yeah, just not. It wasn't a classic or anything. One question I wanted to ask you, because it was hard to tell. It looked like there were some shots to the face with the strap during that match. Was that could you see that on the broadcast on Peacock? Or?
Yes, it was, I believe, Drew hitting Karrion Kross in the face with the strap. Yes, it happened a couple times.
Oof, that's intense. That's what it looked like, and I'll tell you that. It is a good effect with the sound that the strap makes, because it was loud, and there's a lot of oohs and ahs every time somebody gets hit with the strap. But like I said, I don't know if this is this the end of the line for that story. I don't really know. Where does Drew go after he's done with Cross? Like I said, it was a decent match. Nothing. I wouldn't call it excellent or anything, but it was kind of what I expected from that.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to describe it. It was as advertised. Violent, it made you go ooh and ah a lot, and the heel won, which he should have. I really do believe that Cross needs more momentum going into establishing himself on the main roster. McIntyre can afford a loss, especially if it's not one that is a clean loss against him. This was fine, and I think they're going to continue their program, as they should too. I'm okay with this going another pay-per-view. If they want to finish it up in Saudi Arabia on November 5th, have at it. I think that's it's fine, because I think both work well together, and I want to see them in a straight-up wrestling match, though. I don't want any gimmicks the next time that they meet, so hopefully that happens. But okay, let's get to the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair, Bayley ladder match. This was I thought it was a pretty damn good match. I didn't think that it was a match of the year candidate by any means, but to me it was a solid, kind of almost what you expected match, because this match came in with a lot of high expectations. It's the first women's ladder match for a championship, and we got interference, of course, from Damage Control with Dakota Kai and Io Sky, but Belair fended them off, and she hit a double KOD off the ropes, which was a little messy. But it was enough for Bayley to get the upper hand. And then, of course, we have that spot of the KOD on the ladder that I had a feeling they were going to redo from the original time they met. I think it was at Hell in a Cell or something, where Bianca KOD'd Bayley. They redid that spot again, and this time it cost Bayley the championship, where Belair was able to climb up and get the championship and retain. So, it's come to a point where I got to stop. I think I need to stop counting out Belair. I need to stop picking against her. I picked Bayley in this match, and I probably shouldn't have. Belair is a hell of an athlete. She's probably the best athlete, probably the best women's athlete that they have on the roster, bar none. She's amazing. And so I don't hate the decision. I think the crowd was pretty behind her. But I know that there were some dueling chants for Bayley and Bianca. Were you a part of that?
Yeah, there were dueling chants. So I would have agreed with you. I picked Bayley for this match too. I thought that they were gonna, after her return, they were gonna start building some momentum with her. I thought it was a good match. Yeah, the crowd was pretty hot for both of them. Like you said, there was sort of dueling chants. Half the crowd was for Bayley, half the crowd was for Bianca. I will say at the end, when Bianca was sitting on top of the ladder celebrating, the whole place was pretty fired up for her. I think everybody, the fans, I think just respect both of them, regardless of who you're supposed to cheer and who you're supposed to boo. They put on, and of course, with the two of them, you're going to get a good quality match as far as the in-ring stuff goes. I thought that the KOD on the ladder was a really well done spot. I thought the whole match, like I said, was pretty well done. There was a couple of times when they're going up the ladder, you thought, maybe this is it, So I thought they did a good job all in all putting the match together. And I gotta agree with you. Like, I keep thinking that, that feeling the same way, that, okay, this has got to be kind of the end of Bianca's run, but she always looks good in the ring. And I think her and Bayley, I wouldn't mind seeing these two again. Like, I think they work really well together in the ring. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's probably another match with these two, and excuse me. Yeah, Bianca did great, and I think the belt probably stays on her for a little while.
I could see it staying on Bianca until WrestleMania 39, where maybe Charlotte comes in and it's Charlotte, Bayley, Bianca in a triple threat or something. I would have said Becky in a triple threat with these two, but I also think that Becky Ronda is more important to me, and I think to most fans, given it's never happened. So to me, yeah, I mean, I could see Bianca holding this to WrestleMania, maybe even beyond. But WrestleMania is what, 5 months away? 6 months. We've got some time until WrestleMania in early April. So, but yeah, Bianca right now, I think I've just learned my lesson. I need to stop picking against her because they just continue to keep it on her, and I don't have a problem with that. I think I'm just a bit brainwashed by the typical runs that women and men have in WWE with championships. Outside of Roman Reigns, who's a complete anomaly, most runs last from WrestleMania to SummerSlam, and anything after SummerSlam is kind of bonus. So I think that's also why that's how I've been conditioned, and I need to realize that Bianca's different. She's a special athlete. She's really good on the microphone. She's had some down spots in her career, but overall, yeah, I mean, until they give me a massive reason to believe that they're going to take the belt off of her, I need to stop just doing it, picking against her, because that's typically what WWE does. So I think I've learned my lesson.
Yep, yeah, I agree. And, just like my last point on Bianca is that, especially, I've seen her live a couple of times, in-house at a couple of house shows, and then, last night. And she really is a great worker in the ring. Like, I think she is in the top couple of women on the roster as far as their in-ring work is really, really good.
Oh, yeah. She is. I don't think that we realize how good she is, but I don't think we truly know how good she is yet. And I don't even think she's seen her best days yet. That's the crazy part. That's the scary part, is I don't even think she's in the prime of her career yet. Like, for all the success she's had, she's still really young. She's main evented WrestleMania twice and won the championship twice, and yet I still feel like we haven't seen the best of her. Which is, I mean, that says a lot. I mean, I know I'm one person here, but I still believe that she's got at least probably 5 to 10 years left in her, and we haven't even seen the best of it. So, all right, I do want to ask about the Fight Pit match here. First of all, did I cover everything here? Did I cover all the other matches? I think I did. The strap match, yeah. Okay, so I got to ask about the Fight Pit match here. That I mean, maybe it's me. Maybe I was just tired at this point in my watching of the show and just ready for Wyatt to appear. I was a bit disappointed by this match with Daniel Cormier in this match here, obviously as the referee, but it felt just kind of like a cage match. I mean, I don't know what made it exactly a Fight Pit match. Okay, we had the spot off of the top, the Broton, which looked brutal, and we did have a pedigree on top of the platform there. But outside of that, it kind of felt like just what a cage match should be, where nobody escapes. You can't win by escaping. And I thought that there was a lot of there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises on both guys. I don't know. Maybe I just expected more from this match. And actually, Rollins tapping out was really surprised me. I don't know. I'm not down on this match. It just I'm not coming out of this thinking about this match very much. What about you?
So I am down on this match. I was super disappointed. The fight pit looks awesome. I thought there was going to be a lot more, really cool spots involving the fight pit. And I'm also a big MMA fan, so I was excited about Daniel Cormier being there. I felt that the match was a big disappointment. And one thing I wanted to ask you that I don't know if maybe they explained during the broadcast, we could not figure out. So for in-house, they didn't explain the rules of the fight pit at all. But my understanding was it had to be a knockout or a submission. So why did every time someone was down, did they start doing a 10 count? Because that's last man standing rules. That's not a knockout. I was assuming knockout, like you call a knockout, in the UFC. A guy gets hit, he's knocked out, you call the match. Like, I didn't understand. And Cormier kept making them break. Like, there was 2 or 3 different times where he came in and made them break when they were, like, stopping them in the ropes or in the corner. Did they talk about that in the broadcast at all, what was going on? Because we were really confused.
There was a time in the match where Cormier wasn't counting anybody. Now, I understand the methodology of how they were doing it. It was essentially last man standing rules. It was, I mean, they didn't want you to make that correlation, and the announcer didn't go anywhere near that. They just accepted at face value that the way you determined a knockout was the 10 count. And so I'm like, whatever, let's go with it, fine. But what they did point out was Cormier didn't count anybody for a while. There were a spot or two where Cormier was just kind of standing there, and even Michael Cole was saying, why isn't Cormier counting? Because Graves pointed it out, and then even Cole was like, yeah, Graves, like, I can't explain it. I don't know why Cormier just decided not to start the count, because both men were down, and we're like, what the hell? Okay, like, count. If this is how you're going to determine a knockout, do something. And he didn't. So I didn't think Cormier added a ton to this, because he didn't really get physically involved. He was there just as like a celebrity that, obviously had a hell of a UFC career, and was just there for show, but didn't really do anything that any other normal referee in WWE couldn't have done. He was saying, well, I got to be brought in because a normal referee can't handle this. Well, why? How many Hell in a Cell matches have we seen? How many Inferno matches have we seen? How many, all these, you're telling me a fight pit match can't be handled by a normal referee? And yet, what did you do that any other referee couldn't? So I was a bit disappointed by this as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it. I just felt like, when we got there, obviously we saw the fight pit hang. Like, I was pretty pumped up for that match. That was one that we had talked about was going to be awesome, because Riddle and Rollins have put on great matches together all the way through this. So I figured with the addition of the fight pit, like, we were really in for a treat. And I felt like they could have had the same match with nothing, just in a regular ring. So yeah, that one was a little bit of a letdown. And of course, we forgot about it real quick with what happened with Bray right after the match.
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I was saying during this match, even specifically, I heard people chanting for, like, I think we want Wyatt, and I'm like, wow, that if this is the main event and people are chanting for we want Wyatt, I think that says a couple of things. Number one, the match isn't going so well. Number two, that fans are tired and they're just ready for Wyatt to appear. I mean, it wasn't a great look or feel for the main event when people are chanting for somebody that's not there. And really, the match, I don't think delivered on any level. I wouldn't give it a bad grade. I'd give it kind of like a ho-hum grade, because, like you said, there didn't even need to be a structure around them for them to have this type of match. It was underwhelming, to say the least, and I'm just glad that this program's over. Rollins is now going to get a U.S. title match against Lashley on Raw. I think he'll win it. I think he'll be U.S. champion on Raw. And then I don't know what Matt Riddle does after this. Do you have any idea what he could do after this program with Seth?
No, I don't, because I feel like he's been in this program with Seth for as long as Randy's been out. which I guess from what I hear could be quite a while, which disappoints me. I thought there was still a lot of juice left to squeeze, as you would say, with RK Bro. So yeah, I'm not sure where Riddle goes. Maybe he takes a little time off and then they come back with a new story. I don't know, because yeah, I think you're right. I think Seth is going to beat Bobby on Monday, and which he should. I think Seth deserves the title. Yeah, no, yeah. As I was going to say, I think Seth deserves that title run. That he'll probably beat Bobby on Monday night. And as far as Riddle, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure where they go with Riddle. They're going to have to start all over with a new. It's not like he has some side storyline working with anybody else right now. So I think they have to start over with something brand new for him. And I don't know. Have you heard anything about Randy's status? Because I was really hoping that we get a little more RK Bro before it's all done.
I haven't. I keep waiting to hear, and the last we heard when he was quote unquote injured by the Bloodline several months ago was that it could be 6 to 10 months and all that. Which I always, every time WWE gives me a time frame for an injury return, I take it with a grain of salt because they often overestimate it because it's for two reasons. Number one, they do it so that if there's a return that happens, it feels like they came back early and it's more of a surprise. So they inflate the return time. But also because if the actual time does take that long, then, well, that's how long you said. And, it really doesn't hurt them to overinflate the estimation. And so the last I heard, it was like 6 to 10 months. And, I do believe that it's probably going to be end of the year or maybe Rumble. I think he'll be back before WrestleMania. And at that point, you could have RK Bro facing one another. I mean, I doubt that they're going to win the championships from the Usos. I think that's still going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn whenever they get together. But to me, it's probably Riddle and Randy at WrestleMania when he does return, probably in early 2023.
Yeah, because they still, that's where we all assumed RK Bro was going before, Randy went out. So, yeah, hopefully they get them back together, and then they can get to that part of the storyline by WrestleMania.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool. I think that this was a pretty good coverage here of the show. I like hearing about the things that you probably weren't supposed to see, right? Like at the beginning when you got let into the arena, I can guarantee you that the WWE management is probably not happy that the people let you in and you had access to see what you saw. But that's cool. And so anything else?
I've got a pretty cool picture that I'll send you. Oh, I was just saying, I've got a pretty cool picture that I'll send you. I tried, but I don't think I could send it on just through Patreon.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll email it or something to you. But I've got a cool picture that I'll send you from when we got in early.
I want to see that. That's awesome. Cool. Anything else that happened on the show, or maybe merchandise that you saw people wearing, or anything else that you saw during the show that you think is should be mentioned that other people didn't see sitting at home?
No, I don't think so. Not really. As far as like what was going on in the crowd, like I said, there was a lot of the White Rabbit merchandise you saw around, even outside before people were in the arena. And I feel like because of we watched SmackDown Saturday morning in our hotel room just so that we could be caught up. And when they had the White Rabbit vignette that they did, that I forget everything it said, but it said tomorrow night, and it showed the date. So I feel like that was the first time we realized, oh my gosh, they might pay this thing off tonight. We weren't expecting to get Bray until we saw SmackDown Friday night, and I feel like that was sort of the vibe of everyone. After everyone saw SmackDown and saw that little tease where they showed the date and it said tomorrow night, feed your head or whatever, I think kind of everybody knew, all right, they're paying this off tonight. So that really, and that might have actually been a detriment to some of the other performers on the show last night, because I feel like everybody was just keyed up waiting for what's going to happen. What's the payoff here? Especially during, like I said, during the main event, they're chanting, "We want Wyatt." It made me feel kind of bad for Seth and Riddle in the ring, because they were chanting for Wyatt during their match. But I feel like that was the most satisfying part of the show, obviously, because we all know WWE's history of not paying things off well. really good builds and not paying them off. So I was really glad that, that I think they nailed it. They knocked it out of the park with the Bray Wyatt return.
Yeah, I think that's the one detriment about the Bray Wyatt return. The one drawback is, yeah, it overshadowed a lot of things, and particularly the main event that wasn't very intriguing and underdelivered and was kind of weird at times, and almost had a Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan type of finish to it, like kind of like that's it, like okay, Rollins just taps, it's over. When the tap out happened, I'm like what? Like that's it? Like it was weird. It had that vibe to it, which is not a good vibe to have for that program that both of those guys are capable of much more. But yeah, that's certainly a thing that is bad for the event itself when you have this massive star looming that everyone's just waiting for. The problem is it takes people's minds completely out of what's going on, and they're paying attention to what's happening, but they're always like, where's Bray? Where's Bray? Where's Bray? When's he coming? So it does unfortunately have that side effect. But the end result is we get Bray. We have the crowd pop like crazy. It was a thunderous response from at least what I've heard at home and what you told me about in person. So they got what they wanted. It now just becomes, where does Bray go? Who does he attack? Who does he go to a program with first? That's going to be the number one question. I believe he'll eventually go for Roman Reigns. I mean, I don't know how that doesn't happen, and he actually could be the one in my mind to take the belt off of Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I agree. It has to, and the other big thing I'm curious about is what is this character now? Because if you notice, when they did the cutaways to all the different like Firefly Funhouse characters, at one point they cut to the Fiend, or it was someone in a Fiend mask anyways, because everyone at first the police went nuts when they showed that, because we thought maybe it was just him back as the Fiend, but obviously he's not the Fiend. He's not Bray Wyatt. So what is this character now? That's what I'm really interested to see.
Yeah, that is, and I'm glad they didn't bring him back just as he was. The evolution of Bray Wyatt makes sense. If he had just come back as the Fiend, I think it would have been like a big pop, but then it's like, oh, well, he's still just the Fiend. The evolution of Bray Wyatt over the years is really fascinating, from kind of the swamp cult leader, into what he became with the Fiend, and then the massive disappointment that he was with Randy Orton at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, and now he's this kind of, we don't know. He's got a new mask, which would tell you he's got a new character of sorts, but he's also carrying the lantern, so he's kind of like a mix of things. We don't know exactly what he is yet. I'm sure it's been thought out. I mean, I don't know how. Bray Wyatt's mind is just so deep and creative that that there's something behind this. I'm sure that it'll be told to us, but they're never going to be able to turn Bray Wyatt heel. I wonder if he's the one character that they cannot turn heel. I mean, I don't know how you do it. Even if they did it, fans would just be like, well, he's too interesting. Like, he's too engaging. He's too much fun to watch and listen to for us to boo. They tried that with The Fiend a couple of times, and people were like, nah, we're going to cheer for The Fiend. It's just, I don't know if it's possible. So.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think whatever you do, people are going to cheer him. So that's the way you got to go.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle. Good luck. Anyway, yeah. So I think Roman Reigns and Bray will eventually happen, maybe at WrestleMania, or if The Rock's not there or whatever. But he, I think, has the strongest chance to take the belt off of Roman, given what happened at SummerSlam 2020, and that's the last time someone else was Universal Champion, was at that time. So, all right, well, very good. I'm so glad you were able to come on, buddy. I'm very jealous that you were able to be in attendance in person to see this happen, to see Bray Wyatt's return, and to see things you shouldn't have at the very beginning of the show.
Yeah, it was great. I was glad to be there. Matt, thanks for having me on. I'm glad we were able to make it work out. I love the show. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it. So thanks so much, buddy. We'll be in touch on Patreon, I'm sure. Safe travels home, by the way.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.